So I wanted to look back at the year and share some excerpts and highlights from some favorite videos. So I hope you enjoy this. I've got a couple of new things in store for this coming year that I think you'll like. Stay tuned for more. So thanks for watching the channel this year and have a great new year.
You do some skiing up here too, huh?
No, it's not very apt.
Is that for Cherry Mountain over here, or is that?
No, the kids, they've tried it a little, but we ain't much of skiers.
I see. Well,
That's
okay, there's your
card.
card.
And this is my brother-in-law's card. The oldest one, he's more to go at it and try to get it done quick.
Okay. That's why you're here for quality control, right?
I've tried to.
And this is not the only example. He had another photo also taken at an event in the same community of another woman wearing what appears to be a ring. And, I wasn't sure about these when I first saw them, but at least in the case of the second one, Jim says that it was definitely a ring and that he observed it several times during the event. I asked about the ring, and she said they sometimes wear rings. It's not a wedding ring or, and this is the interesting part, one worn for health reasons. So of course this question came up. What do the Amish think about premarital sex, and how do they handle that if it happens among their members? Now, like in just about any culture, premarital sex does occur among the Amish. However, unlike a lot of cultures, Amish do consider it a sin, and there are consequences. One woman added, in our church, they're in the bond, and that would mean excommunication, shunning, just over one church Sunday. If a girl gets pregnant, we say, that's too bad, and then we move on. In other gemes, and geme is a word for church, the excommunication might last as long as 6 weeks. If the father is not Amish, the pregnant woman might leave and marry the father outside the church. Or she might remain in the community and raise the child as a single parent. Or she might even arrange for an Amish couple to adopt the child. Church members tend to be more forgiving of the premarital pregnancy of an Amish couple than that of an Amish woman and a non-Amish man. Pennsylvania Dutch, also known as Pennsylvania German. This is the language that all Amish would learn as their first language. This is what children will speak up until they start going to school as their primary or only language. Now, a lot of people wonder, why is it called Pennsylvania Dutch? Loudon explains in his book, Pennsylvania Dutch, the story of an American language, that contrary to a widespread belief among both non-scholars and scholars, the Dutch in Pennsylvania Dutch is not a historical mistranslation of the native word Deutsch. Both German and Dutch were used in earlier American English to mean German. The two synonyms differed in terms of formality. So often if you enter a conversation or an area where Amish are speaking in Pennsylvania Dutch, they'll switch to English out of respect or politeness for you as an outsider. One other note about Pennsylvania Dutch. Now, there is a small subgroup within the Amish known as the Swiss Amish. There's also a little invention here that the Amish use. This is a metal, let's call it a fan, that you place onto a stove. Basically, the heat is what causes the fan action, and the fan, in turn, disperses some of that hot air throughout the shop or the home. You may be wondering, now what about fireplaces? Now, you might see these in some Amish homes. I just spent several days with Amish friends in Pennsylvania who have a fireplace in their home, and they do use it sometimes, but it's not really their primary source of heat. Amish don't really build fireplaces in their new homes, probably because it's not the most efficient way of heating a home, especially compared to, say, a wood stove. But you may see these in some Amish homes. Some of you might remember a young woman named Rebecca from the program Breaking Amish. In one episode, Rebecca surprised viewers by removing her dentures, and it was revealed that Rebecca had had all her teeth pulled at age 19. by a local, quote-unquote, Amish dentist. So this raises the question, do the Amish have their own dentists? While a lot about that program was questionable, there is something to this. Now, so there you have several accounts, and I have to add myself, I recently heard my own firsthand account of this from the son of one of my friends while I was in Pennsylvania, and it was kind of funny because he was laughing a lot as he told it, almost as if he thought it was a little bit crazy, but he decided to give it a try because, of course, in the community, they know about the individual or individuals that provide this service, and he described going to the guy's place. He went upstairs, and he said the guy was all business about it. I think he was asked if he wanted Novocaine or not. I can't remember what he did, but it sounded like it went pretty well. Popped right out. I think the donation in this case was around $20. Apparently, this gentleman also takes out wisdom teeth, and my friend's son was asked if he wanted that done, and his attitude was kind of like, no way. So, he had an experience with it. He was laughing the whole time when he told the story. His wife went along with him. So it's not something that all Amish are going to do, but you can see the appeal of it, especially in some communities where it's much lower cost, it's local. Technically, it kind of operates in a gray area, as some individuals have had legal trouble with this in the past. Here's an article from the early 90s when an Amishman was threatened with a very large fine for pulling teeth. But as you can see, in some communities, it's a very appreciated service.
Number 5, the camera. Now, it's pretty commonly known that Amish do not pose for photographs. However, if you look around enough, you will find Amish that seem to be perfectly comfortable posing for the camera. For example, here's an interview with an Amishman named Joseph Yoder, which he did for an Illinois television station talking about Amish beliefs. I've seen photographs of Amish on numerous occasions where they were clearly posing for the camera. The objection there is that posing for photos is a sign of pride in the individual. Not all Amish necessarily are going to agree with that. Some Amish do, of course, pose for their identification cards.
First of all, you'd have kerosene-based cooking, kerosene stoves, as well as kerosene ovens. And these tend to be used in the plainer groups. Kerosene, in some ways, is more old-fashioned. It was being used in the mid-1800s already in households, versus propane, which came along later. So that may explain why it's more readily accepted in the more tradition-minded communities. One advantage of a kerosene stove and other fossil fuel stoves for that matter is that it's a cooler type of cooking. So you may have some families which use wood for cooking in the wintertime and rely more on kerosene or another fossil fuel in the summer. More progressive Amish are going to use propane-based stoves and ovens.
So this is off-grid furniture making. I mean, this is the way you do it. Yeah.
And the ratchet there, it makes it.
You ready to help him put this order together for this guy tonight?
Put some bolts in there.
Okay. Would you show me how you make this, or not how you make it, but just can we take a look at your tools real quick?
Yeah. Here's what I used to put the screws in. Yeah, it's actually it's got a ratchet.
Okay.
There.
Oh, neat.
That makes it go in easier. Like if you actually right here, I could show you. You put in a screw, like, and the ratchet there, it makes it.
I see.
Go in there easier.
And there it is.
Yeah, it's got a shaft back there.
Okay.
And then a motor there on the outside, and that runs all of my
everything.
sauce and stuff.
So it's like is it a diesel motor or outside?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can show you the motor out there.
All right. That'd be neat to see.
One mother recounted to me a story she had heard from her sons, who were both in the young folk, about a visiting young woman who asked one of the young men to go for a walk with her and serve as her quote-unquote bodyguard, tantamount to asking for a date. The young man was quite embarrassed and was relieved when another woman volunteered to go with a visitor. The mother added that she had talked with her sons about the girl's behavior. That's not how I raised my daughters to act. That's not how we do things. One woman noted that she went with a young man for 3 months before breaking up with him. Recalling the experience, she told me, quote, "It was just one-way communication. I said nope. Dating had showed her what the future with him would have been like. Quote, he really didn't talk with me about decisions. He seemed to leave everything up to me, and I couldn't imagine a marriage like that. Her actions would have pleased the Lancaster County Amish mother who, when I asked what advice she would give a girl about to join the young folk, replied, just because a boy asks you on a date doesn't mean you have to say yes. Be your own person and learn to know yourself. Remembering her own courtship, another Lancaster woman told me how important it had been to her, quote, to look at the boy's heart. I sent many a boy down the road. They had farms and were well-to-do, but I looked at their heart. She acknowledged that there were Amish women who looked at other things, quote, but the heart shows beauty. So the first one would be shopping at bent and dent stores. The Amish are not self-sufficient. They don't grow all their food. They definitely have to buy things from stores. They will frequently patronize bent and dent stores. These are also known as salvage stores, discount grocery stores, banana box stores. If you're not aware, these are basically stores which sell food and other products that may be in damaged packages or a discontinued product, or the food may actually even be close to or past the expiration date. And because of this, you can get things at really good discounts. You may be paying half price for the food. You may be paying even 80% off. So these are naturally popular among the Amish, and Amish often run these stores themselves. If you saw my video on taking Amish friends shopping, this is actually the first place we stopped on that trip. So you may very well find one of these in your area. But especially for certain products, like I like to pick up things like nuts and trail mix, drinks, other things that are going to have a long shelf life, and you can be more confident about eating them past the expiration date. So next way the Amish save. So I hope that gives you perspective on both on how the Amish see this and from the perspective of those who do have same-sex feelings, but find themselves a part of an Amish community. I don't have much experience knowing Amish people who are in this boat. I've come across it a bit. I've always thought it must be a tough place to be. Some people can reconcile it and remain members of the community. Of course, there are some that do not, and they maybe choose not to become Amish or end up leaving the Amish at some point after being baptized. This is a challenge obviously for homosexual people, in an Amish context, and for the Amish church side, as well. They also don't permit affairs outside of marriage. They don't condone premarital sex or other disruptions to marriage. For example, divorce. It is not sanctioned in the Amish church as well. So it's within a network of other, let's say, sexual or relationship transgressions or sins. Although I think this one is probably considered, one of the most taboo in that category. And shingles. Number 3. And this is the one that I've had some experience with, and that would be what's known as supertonic. Now, what is supertonic? So back to nature and the environment in Amish life. The authors write that on one occasion, we visited a home where the women were in the midst of making a year's supply of supertonic, concocted of garlic, horseradish root, onions, and ginger, all cured in vinegar for 6 months and then strained. The woman of the house was effusive in telling us how a teaspoon per person, passed around the dinner table every night, had kept her family healthy through the winter. So, the way it's described here, supertonic seems to be used as an immune system booster. Now, I took something called supertonic when I fell ill while staying with Amish friends in Pennsylvania one winter. I had a pretty, I would say, severe fever, chills, etc. So probably some kind of a bug or a flu. A very similar recipe. I think this maybe can vary a bit. I believe the one that I drank had more chili pepper in it because it definitely had a kick to it. I drank it. It was kind of tough to drink. Got in a recliner, got under a blanket right by the wood stove, fell asleep for probably a couple hours, and I did feel better when I woke up. So I don't know if that was the reason, but I figured it couldn't hurt. A lot of Amish seem to really believe in this remedy. You even see it for sale now in some Amish-run stores, for example. I've picked this up a couple of times, once in Kentucky, once in Pennsylvania. And I was also using it for, I guess, these immune-boosting purposes, taking a few dropperfuls per day. So supertonic, another
As I said at the beginning of this video, there's many different ways of being Amish, and this just demonstrates another way of being Amish. And, are these Amish people more Amish or less Amish than other Amish? Well, that's not really a question I'm interested in exploring. Maybe the Amish themselves have opinions on that. But again, they're regarded as Amish by other Amish as well that are not from their immediate group. So this is just another piece of the Amish puzzle, if you want to call it that.
Children who are married and have left, for example, two of Emmanuel, which is the oldest one, two of their sons help us with the milking on the weekends.
Sounds like it's pretty useful to have a big family then, huh?
Well, there are some advantages. That is correct. And we've been blessed. We've been really blessed with some really nice children.
Absolutely. That's great. John, what is a cheese cave? And what's that for? Why is that important?
Basically, what we have is 3 different rooms in the side of a hill here close to the mountain. We dug out right in the hill, and we encased it in concrete. And the reason for the cave environment is the humidity needs to be about 90%. For the natural rind, these are natural rind cheeses that we are producing in these caves.
You may have noticed the same thing if you've dealt with Amish people in some capacity before, whether it's in business or other interactions, especially if you compare the way Amish communicate with the way non-Amish Americans communicate. I think there's less polite packaging around Amish speech than there would be in non-Amish speech. And if that's the case, well, what might be the reason for that? We're looking at the Amish as a culture. Generally speaking, I think Amish may be more about getting to the point in their speaking simply as a matter of practicality, especially if you think about their large family sizes. Typical household, you've got to manage communication between not just 2 or 3 people, but 8, 10, 12, or more people. Common example would be if you sit down with Amish at the dinner table. There's not a lot of, hey, excuse me, could you please pass the ketchup to me? It'll be one word, ketchup. Whoever's closest to the ketchup needs to reach out and hand it down to you. That's very practical, and people aren't getting offended in those cases because that's just part of the culture.
For example, Second Christmas is observed in Lancaster County, but they don't observe Old Christmas there. While in Holmes County, Ohio, Amish do celebrate Old Christmas. So what is Second Christmas and what is Old Christmas, and what do the Amish do on these days? So Second Christmas has been described as an old continental practice, and this day is still observed in European countries like Germany, in Poland, the UK, and Scandinavian countries.